I'm Vince McMahon, pal, and here's the McMahon family, the brains of all of professional wrestling. And one thing... Brains? You were selling popcorn while I ran this town. Keep dreaming, Junior. Hola, amigos, it's Will here from Will's Custom Figures, coming at you today with a big bad breakdown of none other than legendary wrestling and boxing promoter, Willie Gilzenberg. So please, guys, sit back and relax while I talk you through how and why and all the details in between. Well, first things first. Before the spotlight of the WWE, before the bells rang, there were legends of the squared circle, and Willie Gilzenberg was one of the absolute greats, one of the gems of this era. Whether or not it was boxing, he turned into a wrestling promoter, and today we pay tribute with a custom figure for his daughter Holly and the rest of his family. Now, it's about the history and the why. Well, his daughter Holly wanted her father immortalised in action figure form. Now, Willie Gilzenberg was born in 1901. He lived a life steeped in combat sports history, unfortunately passing away in 1978, leaving a powerful impact on the boxing and the wrestling world. Now, his career spanned absolutely decades, and he helped establish both sports, but he has never been inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, which in my opinion is a glaring omission to the history of professional wrestling, which I hold dear to my heart. Now, there are deep roots in WWE. Vince Senior's colleague and dear friend. He also had a partnership and a lasting effects with the entire wrestling business that we know even till this day. He had versatility across the entire sporting world. And check out this picture of Vince and Captain Lou. And speaking of Vince McMahon, here is his WWE Mattel figure. And as you can see, it stands probably a little bit too tall. This is one of the Mattel basic figures, but Willie Gilzenberg never had a toy line during this time like Mattel or Hasbro, and there are so many wrestlers from the golden era. Here, of course, is Stephanie McMahon. I wanted a nice figure comparison of Willie next to Stephanie McMahon and other members of the McMahon family because they hold such a rich history together. Now, there is a very historic element from behind the scenes with any kind of comparison because Willie Gilzenberg shaped legends' careers like Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan, Fabulous Moolah, Andre the Giant. And speaking of Hulk Hogan, here is a comparison with my son's very own basic Mattel wrestling figures. Here's Dusty Rhodes as well, the American Dream Terrier. And of course, you can't have any comparison video without Sergeant Slaughter, one of my all-time favourites. Now, there's always going to be underrated and underappreciated people from the wrestling business behind the scenes. And I wanted to pay tribute, and that's why I'm doing this video. And thanks to Holly for trusting me in such a personal project. Here is a picture of Holly, her mum and her dad. And I wanted to also bring in some of the old school Hasbro retro figures. Here's Sarge and again Hulk Hogan, just as a bit of a comparison. Now, with Willie Gilzenberg, he wasn't the biggest and tallest and most muscular person. So there was a lot of debate around what kind of figure base I should use. I wasn't sure if I should use a WWE to keep it authentic, but Holly and I went backwards and forwards a few times. And as he was slightly smaller in stature, we decided to go with a Marvel Legends Hammerhead. Look at that picture with Andre. And speaking of legends, here is a picture of Willie and none other than The Undertaker and Paul Bearer. This is The Undertaker Elite Mattel figure, and this is a custom Paul Bearer that my son and I put together using a Gorilla Monsoon. And would stars like The Undertaker exist without Willie Gilzenberg? Who knows? There is a picture of Gorilla Monsoon. I couldn't resist. Here are two of the legends. Now, this is a Jax Jim Ross in the middle and a Jax Jerry the King Lawler on the right. And I think when I'm doing a comparison, I just wanted to show you how far articulations come. We sort of live in the glory era of action figures with all the Mattel and DC multiverse and Hasbro's current line of action figures. Look at these old ones, like, oh man, this Jerry the King Lawler leaves a lot to the imagination. Not much articulation, but back in the 90s when I was collecting my action figures as a child, these were staples in my collection. Look at that picture. Very, very nice picture there. And one of the reasons I wanted to put a video with Triple H and John Cena as a bit of a comparison is because can you imagine somebody like Willie Gilzenberg with his deep roots in wrestling, the influence he would have on the big stars of today? and none other than Paul Heyman here as a final few comparisons. An entrepreneur and a big thinker. Somebody like Paul Heyman wouldn't exist if it wasn't for a Willie Gilzenberg. Here's a nice little Joey Styles comparison as well. Not the best figure again by Jax, but still hold a special place in my heart. And Terry Funk, one of the all-time legends. Of course, people like Terry Funk would have been massively influenced by the fundamentals and the foundation that Willie Gilzenberg would have built. Now, these are the kind of figures that I'm going through. And as you can see, they're all quite muscular. Here's some of the pictures, went backwards and forwards with Holly, who lives in America, and I'm in the UK. And yeah, it took a hot minute, but here we go. Here is a bit of a comparison into the how-to. Now, this is a Hammerhead Marvel Legends figure. The Mattel figures tended to be a little bit too muscular and too, big biceps and things for JBL and Kurt Angle. And there was lovely little features that Hasbro Marvel Legends had with the Hammerhead figure, such as this waistcoat. I had to cut that away, and then you could see the tie, which actually moves and is, 3D and made of a separate piece of rubbery plastic. So really, really happy with how it turned out. This Hammerhead figure did a lot of the heavy lifting for this figure, and using things like Kislev Flesh by Citadel was super important to get in perfect skin colours. You can see Cadian flesh tone for things like, under the eyes and lips and so forth, just to create a nice little bit of natural shadow. Now, this is a completely 100% original head sculpt. I made this using Super Sculpey clay. Once I did that, I used tools very, very similar to this, actually. These steel tools, you can just buy them, steel sculpting tools from Amazon. I then make sure that I use a silicone mold to take a cast. Once I've took a cast using a silicone mold, I can then use resin to make casts inside the silicone mold for 10, 20, 100 different variations. This is the second Willie Gilzenberg that I've worked on, and just showing you a few of the different tools. Let's see, these are my absolute favorite tools I'm going to bring on at the moment. Without these two, everything you see on this channel dating back many, many years wouldn't exist, and these probably are about 5, 6, 7 years old now. And as you can see with the Hammerhead figure, there is a lot of articulation. The knees articulate, the arms articulate, the double jointed elbows, the shoulders move up and down, he crunches at the torso. And I couldn't do any of this without the amazing Vallejo paints that you can see on screen right now. Now, that last one that I brought on, that is a white. I use that for example, for the eyes, to do a base coat on the hair, and gloss varnish to make sure the lips and the eyes would glisten and have that little bit more of a realistic look. It's so important to make sure you have a good set of paints and tools to work with. Now, I'm going to have a little close-up here. Look at that. Absolutely brilliant. I'm so pleased with how it turned out. I wanted to capture the character of Willie Gilzenberg in his prime, but also some of the pictures and the footage that we have of him are for later in his career, when he was mentoring Vince McMahon Sr. and other people. I first started working on this project for a friend of mine, Colin, and he asked me to commission a head sculpt for him to work on with his own custom figures. And of course, Holly's reached out to me and asked me how kindly to work on it. We've done things like remove the waistcoat. As you can see here, I've painted the belt buckle, added on all the little details that we wanted to, all the buttons you can see down the jacket, even the ones on the cuffs of his jacket. Every single bit of attention to detail is important here. Now, just while I'm doing a little bit of a comparison and showing you some of the little details, like removing the brass knuckles off the hand and then sculpting the fingers back in place, I actually used the amazing Milliput clay for this. But a bit about the family history. So there was a significant personal event that shaped Willie Gilzenberg's life. The loss of his son, Harold, who tragically passed in a car accident in 1950. Now, his daughter, Holly, was adopted in 1952, shortly after that event. They lived in Newark, New Jersey, in the USA. And as I bring Hammerhead in for a little bit of a comparison up close, he actually moved to South Miami, Florida, where he spent the rest of his life. Now, after speaking to Holly, there was lots of little changes I did to the figure, such as reshaping the hair slightly and boring a massive hole in the neck so it could really articulate up and down, removing as much of the resin as I possibly could so you could get great articulation. And as you can see here next to Vince, they look really, really cool together if you were putting these on a display. Now, my final reflections to Willie Gilzenberg. Well, he's a testament to the unseen hands that shaped the sporting world. He had an early start in boxing, even back to 1918 as a cameraman and trainer. His first promotion was in 1926. He was nicknamed the Beard for his 5 o'clock shadow that he was so well known for. And his role in the WWF formation, the creation and expansion, the first president, and even established independence from the NWA National Wrestling Alliance. He was a TV promoter, instrumental in utilising TV to promote professional wrestling. He managed notable boxers as well. He collaborated even with Vince Sr.'s dad, Jess McMahon, the grandfather of Vince McMahon. His legacy has influenced exactly how we watch and consume all professional wrestling, even to this day. Now, in my opinion, without the years of sacrifice, the wrestling and sporting industry could be unrecognisable. And I hope that Holly and the rest of her family can enjoy this figure. What an honour it was to work on. Now, guys, what is next for this channel? Now, I'm thinking about doing a Linda McMahon figure. I've got the Von Erichs coming. I've got Greg Gagne. I've got a finished Norman Smiley retro figure. Guys, please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, or here on YouTube if you want more content, wrestling history, and action figures customized by myself. I love telling unique stories from all combat sports and people from all aspects of the world. And that is what I love to do, and it gives me drive to continue what I'm doing. So please, guys, like, comment, subscribe, share this video. And here we are with the McMahons. And should Willie Gilzenberg be put in the Hall of Fame? You tell me in the comment section below, guys. I think it is an undeniable fact and a must-have. Guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Adios!